Hey guys, Sam Rusk here with another dice rolls and drawings video where I roll some dice and mash up a little tattoo style drawing with some nerdy D&D stuff. Let's get into it. I've been using these tattoo paint roll dice. They're super cool. I don't know if you checked out the last video, but these are little prompt dice made by Tattoo Paint Roll, and they have little prompts on them, like tattoo style things. And last time I used a prompt that I made on my own, like a little roll table that had a bunch of D&D kind of prompts on it. But this time I thought it would be fun to use something out of the new monster manual. I figured I could just roll like a D100 and you just use the first 100 pages for now and see what we get, and maybe use 2 of these tattoo paint roll dice and get a little nerdy prompt going. So let's roll some dice. So I'm gonna roll my percentile first. What is that? A 96. Alright, and then let's roll the... Actually, let's see what a 96 is first. That would be cool. Alright. There's cool stuff in the first 100 pages of the monster manual, so like I think it gets to like D, so you get all your dragons and all that stuff. 96 is a demi-lich. Is it my birthday that I get to draw a demi-lich? Alright, let's see. It says, a demi-lich is a skull harboring the remnants of a lich's wicked essence, and it has the coolest drawing of like a skull, and it has gems for eyes and teeth with some candles around it. Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts about D&D is just flipping through the books and seeing the amazing art in here. And I love the way the new monster manual is laid out, and like it's super cool. Yeah, let's roll some of the other prompt dice on here. Actually, I'm gonna leave this open and prop it up over here so I can see what we're doing. It's not dangerous at all. I think I'm gonna roll, actually, I don't know, there's so many cool ones. I'm wondering which one might go with a demi-lich the best. Let's roll, there's a cool sparkly green one that has like a lot of cool little weird options. There's like stardust, dragon, barbed wire, wolf, wing, and then this black one has like snake, eye, heart, rose, devil. Like I think we can make some cool stuff out of these, so let's see what we get. Eye and wizard. So let's see. Alright, a demi-lich, eye, and wizard. I feel like those go together super well. Alright. Yeah, we got this. Let me think here. Alright, so we got our traditional, skull vibe, and I love in the image in the monster manual it has these like green gems for eyes and green gems for like these fangy teeth. I think this will go together super well. So like alright, I'm just jabbering. Let's get a little sketch here. Okay. This is just gonna be super duper sketchy. As a tattooer, I draw skulls all the time, and I feel like that it's always a little different. Alright, so you know what? I think I'm gonna make this a little more kind of a symmetrical design. Alright, as always, just like a really rough kind of sketch to get the shape in here. Alright, so he's gonna have like these like gem shapes in the eyes. Yeah, the illustration in the book is pretty complicated on the gems, and for this kind of traditional tattoo style, you kind of just simplify it you know, into its most simple form. That way you get that clean look in there. I think for this, you know, Demi-Lich Wizard Eye mashup, I think it would be cool to do like the eye, like have one eye in there instead of a gem. You know, maybe it's like witch to, or maybe it's like lich to demi-lich transition, or you know what, it might be cooler. We're just brainstorming as we go here. I think that's a cool thing about the process videos, is that I think people can see that an idea for a drawing doesn't just like happen right away. You kind of have to kind of problem solve and work your way through it. I think that happens, you know, every day with drawing for clients, especially. You know, you get elements of things and you have to put them together, and so sometimes it feels like a puzzle, like you're putting these things together and you know that there's a right answer, and it doesn't happen right away sometimes. I really like that feeling. I feel like, again, it feels like to my brain it's like a puzzle. Like I'm like, I have these pieces and I know they're gonna fit together. You just kind of have to like work with it for a minute. I think maybe the wizard eye kind of symbolism in this could be like a tome, like the Lich's tome. So maybe like, maybe under, actually, let's, okay. I think what might be cool is having like a tome open under the demi-lich skull here. So like the kind of pages like flying open and stuff, and then maybe having like an eye design kind of sitting there, like it's being like shown, like kind of like an arcane kind of like projection almost, as the, you know, this magic and stuff is coming out of this wizard's tome. We're gonna mirror this kind of book sketch on the other side. Copy, paste. Kind of something like that. That's what I'm thinking. Oops. We're gonna put those two layers together. Yeah, that's cool, yeah. So usually liches have like, you know, these like sigils and stuff here too, but you know, I think for the sake of this, keeping it simple is the way to go. So I'm just gonna scribble on this for a minute and just get the flow down before we get our sketch finalized. Again, you just gotta play around with it. Sometimes it takes a little longer. And again, for these videos too, you know, I'm not gonna make them perfect because we'd be here for a long time. You know, I said I wasn't gonna spend a bunch of time on this, but I think I'm gonna try something. So I'm just going to duplicate this layer. gonna save the other one and then just try something real quick. And if I don't like it, I'll just go back to the other one. I'm wondering, it might be cool to do kind of like a, okay. Let's rough this out here. I'm thinking maybe a skull, like kind of looking up from the side a little bit. That might be kind of more, what's the right word, like mystical. Okay, we're just gonna roughly sketch. I feel like I'm liking this vibe better. I'm gonna mess around with this kind of background a little bit more. Make a little separate layer, kind of get like a little flow going. Try that one more time. I feel like this one's a little tricky today, guys. I like that, but I feel like it's not like lichy enough, you know? I feel like it's like too soft, maybe. Let's try one more thing. Yeah, I feel like something like some sort of like smoke in the background or something is probably what he needs. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Gotta mess around with the composition a little bit, maybe. Yeah, maybe he just needs a little more like action, kind of. Yeah, I think I'm liking this kind of feel. Because you want to be scared of this guy. You know, as classic as liches are, I don't think I've ever played a game with a big bad lich. I feel like our home game, there might be some sort of like necromancer or something coming up that we're gonna fight, but we haven't been introduced to him or them or gotten to know any of the good details yet, so maybe I will regret ever or saying that I haven't got to fight against a lich. But yeah, I've been loving flipping through this new monster manual. It's been super inspiring. The art in there is so rad. I feel like that kind of stuff, like always as a kid, you know, picking up whatever it is, like a sci-fi book or, you know, a fantasy book, if it had like art and stuff like that in it, like just spend hours and hours staring at, you know, Frank Frazetta stuff, you know, my dad's comic books, anything like that. And that's definitely how I got started drawing. I think the the first things I remember really spending my time drawing were my dad's comic books. He had so many, you know, X-Men, Spider-Man, a lot of DC stuff. Oh, what's the artist who does? He does the amazing like painted DC comic books. Alex Ross, is that his name? Oh my gosh, I had the worst cold. My brain is like in a fog. But yeah, I would just copy, you know, look at Wolverine panels, you know, Cyclops, the Hulk, Spider-Man, and just try to draw them as best I could. Pokemon as a kid too, I would draw Pokemon cards. I would try to make Pokemon cards for me and my brother. I think I'm liking this a lot. This is super fun. Way better than the kind of just more static drawing in the beginning. Nothing wrong with it. I just feel like this is more fun. Gets the I think it paints the picture better of how scary liches and demi-liches are. Right, I'm just going to finish up this kind of final sketch here, and then we will move on to actually getting this thing lined out. Alright, let's move on here. Let's see, let's work on this outline. Alright, let's see. Alright, cool. Let's see, let's go a little too bold. I like it bold, but maybe not that bold. Alright, let's work on some outline. Try to get a nice clean outline on here. Alright, let's give this some like wear and tear on the pages, because this is like an old dusty wizard's tome, necromancer tome. When I was making my last video, I had a little kind of questionnaire thing that I put on Instagram asking people if they had any questions, and I got through most of them, but there was a couple left that I didn't get around to in the video, and that I didn't see till after the video. But some people were asking like if I had any like advice for playing D&D. And I was trying to think, I think maybe some advice for maybe like first time players. Like making a character can seem super intimidating, especially for like, you know, like I totally get, you know, being an introvert and feeling uncomfortable, like, you know, role-playing a character at first, and where to start, and like how do you get into it, you know? So I think what helped for me a lot is you know, my first character was very kind of similar personality to myself. Like it just makes it easy if you can play a character that you know how they act, because it's, you know, similar to you, or like base a character on like one of your favorite characters from a show or a book. That way you kind of know their personality and like how they would act and react to certain situations. But yeah, you don't have to go crazy and do a, you know, full-on accent and have this amazing character with a, you know, super fleshed out backstory right away. You know, just do something fun. Just you know, keep it light and easy, and don't put so much pressure on yourself. Sometimes people just want to dive in like all the way right away, which is totally cool. You know, but don't put pressure on yourself to be so outside your comfort zone where it's intimidating, or you're not having a good time, you know? Alright, cool. I feel like this is coming together really well. I think in my head I wanted to do more like a kind of smoke like on the background, but I feel like the kind of necromancer flames are kind of what they needed to be. Something a little more like edgy, not super soft, kind of intimidating, and gives it like a lot of flow. again, you know, sometimes you just have to like play around and find the answer. It's there, you just have to work at it. Cool, this is giving me some good Vecna vibes, which tells me I'm in the right direction, I think, for a demi-lich here. Sweet. Okay, alright, I'm gonna dial in some of these little background elements here, and then I'm gonna do some kind of small, finer lines on those little gem, inner lines on the gem there. I've never tattooed a lich. That would be super fun. But this does remind me of, I did get to make a tattoo of Manfred from Dragon Age, which I fortunately have never gotten to play, but I know people love it and it looks amazing. But Manfred is this little skull, and he has these bright green gems for eyes. And I think Matt Mercer voices him. He just makes like little noises. But that one was really, really fun. Kind of the same thing. I did like, it was kind of more like a traditional kind of skull, and then, but we did the gems on the eyes like a little bit more on the realistic side, so it made them like really pop out, and that was a really fun one. Cool. All right, we got some lines on there. I'm pretty stoked with that. I like the movement and the composition that we got. Cool. So let's work on some shading here. So I think, you know, for this lich vibe, we are going to kind of go heavy contrast, get some real darks, and then some really kind of bright, I think, you know, like keep with those lich colors of like greens and purples, and or like teals and purples. We'll get these dark shadows on the skull and stuff. Alright, so a lot of times on these drawings I like to just kind of map out the kind of really dark areas, and then I'll go back and kind of get that softer shading on the edges, you know, kind of get that like kind of whipped out edge look. Alright, let's work on softening up some of these edges here. You know, it would be fun to make maybe a roll table of like people's favorite D&D monsters. So if you guys have any favorites that I should put on a little roll table, pop it in the comments. I do have my personal favorites, but I've done a lot of Displacer Beast drawings, a couple owl bears, some dragons. I mean, I could never do enough of those, but mimics are always fun. Gelatinous cubes. Sometimes just those classic monsters just makes such good, you know, kind of classic traditional tattoo designs. Especially the Displacer Beast kind of laid out in the traditional kind of climbing panther pose. That one's always fun. I was trying to think if there were any of my favorite like D&D fights that we've had in any of our games, or anything that would be something different that would make a cool tattoo. I'm sure there are, and I just can't think of anything right now. That's why it's always fun to flip through, like, you know, the monster manual and things like that. Little one-shots on the internet. Get some good ideas. I am very excited for everyone to see there's over 50 magic item tattoos that we've gotten to make for Sync. The in progress project at the moment, but there's so much art in that book. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. Oh, you know, one of my favorite D&D tattoos that I got to do recently was based on someone else's, it was based on my client's Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign, and we did this on fire Baba Yaga design. That was super fun. Got to hear about their game and how they set the Baba Yaga on fire. Definitely no consequences came of that, I'm sure. Another cool campaign that I would love to play one day. Just need more time in the day to play all the things. That would be so cool. And then when you do find more time in the day, somehow you play Strahd again. Just kidding. I've only played Strahd once. I would love to play like a full Strahd campaign. Did kind of like a mini mashed up version that I ran for my home group a couple Halloweens ago, and that was so much fun. I don't know, there's just something about that setting that just, it's so good, and it just pulls you back in. Just a good, solid, creepy theme. Yeah, I think I think Strahd might be my favorite, like, setting for a, like, campaign setting. I don't know, maybe it's just the emo kid in me. No, you know what, actually that probably explains it. But I love the vibe of Eberron. That one's a cool one. Wild Beyond the Witchlight seems super fun too. So many games to play. I think that looks pretty cool to start with for the shading. Maybe just actually, yeah. We'll add shading in the gem if we need to. Alright, let's work on some color. I think I have kind of an idea of what I'm thinking here. Kind of do like a dark, kind of greenish gray on the skull here. And we'll get some highlights as we go. Do a little messy color here for the moment. I'm gonna clean this up. Kind of just want to get like a feel for where everything's gonna be before I finalize it. This is usually what I do for like a color study before a tattoo. I'll kind of just mess around with like just kind of a messy version. I think that's kind of the vibe I want, like kind of dark and then have those real, like that bright kind of almost acidic, necrotic, gross green highlight. I think this feels right. I'm gonna just kind of put some of that green in there for now, and we're gonna get another little highlight on there. Alright, let's work on some of this background for a minute, and then we'll kind of finalize some stuff on the skull, kind of see how that goes. So I think think what I want to do is kind of, you know, stick with that necromancer vibe and do kind of some purple, like maybe dark purple in the book, and then maybe like some maybe magenta coming off of here, and then keep some of that green kind of glow. Let's play around with it and see. I feel like sometimes I say stuff and then I switch it up halfway through because it's not what I was envisioning. A little dark, but we'll lighten up. I'm going to keep some of this dark glow. I kind of like this little like kind of ombre on the binding in the pages of the book here, where it just kind of fades out. It's not super complicated. Yeah, I really like that. I think I want, I'm thinking, you know, the eye, get that purple out of there. The eye is, you know, connected to the skull here, so I think I want to do that green also. I'm gonna work on that little highlight here for just a second. We're just gonna keep this simple for this. I think, you know, maybe if I have time later, I'll kind of go back in and kind of fancy up this gem a little bit, but just for the sake of our fun little drawing here, would usually, I'll do a little bit, but I would usually spend, you know, more time and kind of get some more contrast and lights and darks and kind of fancy it up a little bit more. You get the idea. I would do a little bit more, but let's move on. I am wondering, yeah, I think I'm gonna just keep to the purple and green theme, but just kind of vary this a little. I think just maybe using a little bit of kind of yellow as it kind of fades up to the top. So maybe kind of, there's kind of like a magenta-ish kind of color, so maybe magenta to like a orangish to yellow. Let's see. We're just gonna make this easy on ourselves and just do a little color drop and fill this big area here. And I'm gonna erase some of my green that went out of the line. Again, just kind of blocking in those colors real quick here, and then we'll kind of blend them together and see if this looks cool. I might even do a little, just mess around here. Just kind of want to balance the brights with these purples and the dark greens. Kind of get that like pop off of the eye, you know, have it be kind of a, you know, focus, no pun intended. Yeah, and then I think this is cool, and then if we like this, kind of using a little bit of yellow as another kind of highlight on the skull in the book, and then it'll kind of tie everything together. So it's definitely out of the realm of, say, traditional, you know, tattoo color palette, but this is more in this is definitely the pop traditional side, kind of keeping those traditional elements, but getting that color a little crazier. I wonder instead of the magenta on there if it was green. you know, if I would mess around with it more later, but I think for this, I think this is pretty cool. I could be here for hours. Yeah, let's mess around with that little yellow highlight on there and see how we like this. Yeah, you know what? I really like that. I think that's super fun. Cool, yeah. I mean, we messed around with that for quite a bit in the beginning, just trying to dial in the, you know, that initial kind of composition, but I'm pretty stoked with it. Just a fun little quick doodle. I think, you know, if it was actually a tattoo or something, I would probably mess around with it a little bit more, or like any other design that was going to be for something more substantial. But yeah, I think I'm pretty stoked with that. You know, I think I would maybe just add that little kind of background that we sometimes do, maybe something a little brighter, and then kind of mess around with some like texture on there. But yeah, I am pretty happy with that. That's our Demi-Lich Eye Wizard dice roll. Cool. Thanks for hanging out with me. I had a great time making this, and if you guys have any other ideas for other things you'd want to see, like any other roll tables or any other kind of designs based on like certain settings, yeah, let me know. Thank you so much, and see you next time.